Well, Indian wind power group Mytrah Energy has refinanced its existing portfolio of sites through a $380 million debt package with 3 banks. Well, is this over-leveraging? Does it make economic sense for the company? And has this refinancing set a blueprint for debt packages for the industry? Well, Bob Smith is the Executive Vice President. So, Bob, it's a provocative introduction, but is it over-leveraging?
So I think this is a great example of what's possible as the business matures and you start to become a significant player in the sector. For us, we've managed to negotiate a deal here with 3 banks to replace loans that were with 22 banks before. And that transaction is the first of its kind, it's the largest of its kind, and it's a real reflection of the growing maturity of our business and of the strength of the operating portfolio that we've refinanced. So we are setting a standard for the industry. We've reduced the interest rate by doing this, and we've created a new, stronger portfolio with a new debt financing structure, which really sets the standard for the industry.
Of course, your ambition is to double capacity to 1.4 gigawatts over the next few years. Is this an ambitious target? Can you explain how this refinancing will help this?
Sure. I mean, refinancing the portfolio in the way that we've done is reducing our interest costs, first of all, which is putting additional cash into the business, and we can use that additional cash for a further expansion. But also, I think that the portfolio that we are building out, the additional capacity that we're adding, is very clear, very transparent. We can see every part of that project and we can be very confident in the delivery of it. So as we sit here today, we've already built a significant portion. We're up 10% on the year, and in fact, we're up a bit more than that already this year. And we'll be adding another 240 megawatts in total to our original 543 megawatts by the middle of the year. Now, previously we've said 200, but now I think we're going to be able to do 240. So we're actually ahead of the plan already on the expansion.
Okay, in terms of capacity, how much of this additional electricity will be solar and how much wind?
So at the moment we're building only the wind plant. So when I talk about adding 240 megawatts, that's all wind that we're adding to the portfolio. So we'll have 780 megawatts of operating wind going into the wind season. The solar projects will come on sometime over the next year or so as we build out according to the PPA schedules that we've signed up to.
Okay, well, in terms of the weather, the variable wind affected last year's results. How dependent is Mytrah on the weather?
So we're less dependent than some others are. We have a very well-diversified portfolio that covers the breadth of India from the north to the south. And that means that where the wind sometimes is a little stronger in one place and a little weaker in another, then we can generally ride that out. This year, I think we saw some benefit from that. Our results are not bad, despite the fact that it's been a pretty poor year from the wind point of view. But actually, this year was an exceptional year where every plant suffered a little bit relative to what we expected. So this year hasn't been a great year, that's true, but we are very confident that that's not an indication of the future. And I think the refinancing that we've done is also a really strong indication of that. No bank would refinance a portfolio at that level we've just done unless they believed that this year was a one-off and that the wind is going to blow more strongly in the future.
Okay, now are prices for renewable energy in India regulated? What does Mytrah charge compared to other sources? I'm sort of angling, are you subsidised?
Now, this is a key advantage of our business model relative to perhaps some of the models that we see in the European context, is that there's no subsidy to speak of in India. So we're producing power at more or less the same cost as any alternative source of energy right now. And that gives us a tremendous advantage because what we're doing is delivering a product that people desperately need into a market which is short of power, and we're delivering that product at a price that people are willing to pay. And that's very different from some of the subsidized models that you've described.
So what is the current power shortage in India, and how much of this is earmarked to be met by renewables?
So India has been short of power for a very long time. And it's, in general, it's 5 to 10% gap between supply and demand. But that's also very regional. In some places it's much higher gap, and in other places it's lower. What we're seeing is that renewables at the moment is contributing about 3% of the actual power consumed. And the government has set this very ambitious target to build out renewables to a substantial scale over the next few years. But renewables will still be only about a third of the total capacity in India. So the power sector growth is truly enormous.
Bob Smith, Executive Vice President at Mytrah Energy, thank you very much indeed for joining us today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.